What happens when a respected doctor shows up to have a serious conversation and instead gets ambushed by a crowd waving red flags, shouting conspiracy theories, and twisting science into social media bait? That's what happened to Dr. Mike, one of the most trusted medical voices on YouTube, when he appeared on Jubilee's viral Expert versus 20 People panel. It was supposed to be a conversation about public health. What it became was a spectacle, one that didn't just waste time. It actively humiliated the only medical professional in the room. This wasn't a debate. It was a trap. And what happened wasn't just frustrating. It was disgusting. Dr. Mike didn't walk into a balanced panel. He walked into a room that had already decided he was the villain. When Jubilee invited him to participate in their Expert versus 20 People vaccine episode, it sounded like a chance to engage respectfully, share knowledge, and answer tough questions. Instead, he found himself seated alone, facing 20 people, many of whom came not to learn, but to fight. Some were there with good faith questions. Others came loaded with printouts from fringe websites, conspiracy podcasts, and Twitter threads that would make even a flat earther blink. And then Jubilee handed out literal red flags. Every participant was given a flag they could raise at any time, which would instantly interrupt and silence Dr. Mike mid-sentence. No questions, no reasoning. Just flag, shut him down. It didn't matter that he was the only board-certified physician in the room. It didn't matter that he came with peer-reviewed data, clinical experience, and years of patient interaction. In that space, credibility meant nothing. He'd open his mouth to cite a study, red flag. He'd explain how vaccines are tested, red flag. He'd try to answer someone's question, red flag. The crowd didn't want clarity. They wanted catharsis, and the format gave them full control to turn their frustration into censorship. What could have been an honest, powerful conversation became a live-action comment section, with the thumbs-down feature baked into the format. It didn't take long for the whole panel to collapse into chaos. Dr. Mike was outnumbered 20-1, and it showed. From the first few minutes, participants were throwing out claims faster than he could respond. Vaccines change your DNA. My cousin got autism after one shot. Doctors are trained to lie. You're brainwashed by Big Pharma. And when Dr. Mike tried to explain, calmly, patiently, that vaccines are rigorously tested, that correlation doesn't equal causation, and that science evolves with new evidence, he was cut off. Over and over. Someone even interrupted him while he was agreeing with them, just because they didn't like how it sounded. At one point, he referenced the massive Danish study involving over 500,000 children that disproved the link between vaccines and autism. He barely got the words peer-reviewed out before 3 red flags went up and someone shouted, "I don't need your science. I have my truth." Another participant proudly declared, "You can't tell me what to believe. I've done my own research." This wasn't discussion, it was scientific theater, where emotion drowned reason and TikTok logic replaced peer-reviewed journals. Some panelists blamed vaccines for everything from allergies to personality changes. One person said vaccines cut people off from their spiritual energy. Another compared mRNA to mind control. And all the while, Jubilee let it roll. No moderation, no corrections, no structure. They gave red flags to people spreading medical misinformation and let them silence the expert. They didn't protect the flow of conversation. They protected the drama. And when that drama went viral, they won. But the audience lost. Because instead of learning, we witnessed 20 people perform outrage while a doctor tried not to drown in noise. Amid all of it, the shouting, the disrespect, the constant interruptions, Dr. Mike stayed grounded. He didn't snap. He didn't walk off. He didn't get defensive. He just kept trying. He acknowledged the real fears some people had. He admitted the medical system has failed people before. He repeated, more than once, that doctors need to be more compassionate and accountable. And still, they red flagged him. Every analogy he offered, including the now viral seatbelt metaphor, was dismissed or ridiculed. Even when he said, "I don't know," they called him evasive. This wasn't education. It was emotional warfare. and he stood in the middle of it, trying to build a bridge out of stones being thrown at him. Let's talk about those red flags. They weren't cute, they weren't symbolic, they were a built-in censorship tool given to the least qualified people in the room. Every time Dr. Mike offered evidence, one of those flags would rise, and his mic would go cold. No rebuttal, no conversation, just silence. Imagine bringing facts to a conversation and being told, "We don't want those here." That's what happened. And if you think it sounds like satire, it wasn't. It was Jubilee's actual format. After the episode aired, the internet reacted exactly as you'd expect. Supporters praised Dr. Mike for his composure, but others, especially anti-vax communities, mocked him relentlessly. They twisted his words, posted edited clips, even made fun of his appearance, his weight, his body, because that's how you win arguments on Twitter now. He tried to respond on X with clarifications, posted actual data, even offered links to studies, but he got ratioed, trolled, and buried. Because once the misinformation machine is rolling, facts become fuel, not firepower. This wasn't just a bad panel, it was a warning sign, a sign that we're rewarding the wrong kind of conversation, that platforms care more about clicks than clarity, that experts are being set up, not for dialogue, but for drama. And when we create spaces where science gets silenced, we don't just embarrass people like Dr. Mike. We undermine public trust in medicine, in experts, in truth, and that's dangerous. In the end, Dr. Mike didn't lose. He never stood a chance, because this was never a fair fight. It was a bait and switch, a circus sold as a conversation, a room built to break him, not challenge him. And yet, he showed up, spoke with respect, and proved something the rest of the room forgot. Science doesn't need to scream to be right. This is Behind the Light Stick. Subscribe for real breakdowns, media accountability, and the truth behind viral spectacles. Like, comment, and share. Because when outrage gets louder than evidence, we're the ones who pay the price.